I talked to Tiger a good bit, and he's starting to feel a little better. Even if he had to come back and play a few Champions Tours events just to get his feet wet, riding a cart, that would be cool, right? I think it'd be a huge boost for that tour. We all want to see him play, and we'll all welcome him with open arms, but we want him to be healthy and feeling good when he does it. Do you tell Bryson DeChambeau to go to tour school and try to earn his way back? Or I'm not smart enough to figure it out. When you're playing against 54 guys instead of 150, and you're playing on golf courses that are not nearly the quality that we play week in and week out on the PGA Tour, and then you show up to a Bethpage Black, it's probably pretty eye-opening. If you want to be playing on the top level of golf in the world, you're going to play on the PGA Tour.
Hey everybody, what's up? Trey Wingo here. Welcome into another episode of Straight Facts Homie, the podcast, videocast, the content, however you want to call it, that doesn't rely on opinions or anger or rage or shouting. We do data, we do information, and we do deep conversations with the people that matter and the things that you care about. And by the way, if you're watching and listening, we appreciate that. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button wherever you're getting it, especially on YouTube. It really helps our audience grow. Obviously, we do a lot of golf here, and golf is in a really interesting time right now because the PGA Tour had an unbelievable season, and now they have a new man in charge in Brian Rolap, and what's going to happen going forward? Well, this week's guest on Straight Facts Homie is a guy who considers himself much more of a player still on the PGA Tour than a broadcaster, even though he's one of the lead analysts for NBC and has done a great job. I'm talking about, of course, Kevin Kisner. Kiz. You know him, you love him, University of Georgia alum, helped them win a national championship in golf while he was on the team, and of course has 4 wins on tour and does a great job in the booth because he's never rehearsed or tried to be anything but himself. So what to think of Kevin Kisner's career and where golf is going, that's the conversation we had with Kevin Kisner. Sit back and enjoy. So Kiz, right now when people say, what is Kevin Kisner? Do you say I'm a golfer? Do you say I'm a broadcaster? Well, what do you say?
My most recent answer has been TBD. I don't know. I play a little bit. I announce a little bit, play TGL, and got a few other things in the works that I think are exciting. Hopefully come in by the end of the year. So hats in a lot of different areas. I just, I'm not too excited about traveling 35 weeks a year again anymore with 11, 8, and 4-year-olds. So I enjoy the TV side. I still enjoy playing. The level of golf's so high out there anymore, but I just like to be relevant in the game and continue to try to elevate the game in any way I can.
When they came to you, and they meaning NBC, and said, hey, we're thinking about, we'd like you to step in and do a lot of these big events, what was your first reaction?
I laughed in Tommy Roy's face. I was actually playing at the RSM Classic, which is the last tournament of the year 2 years ago, and I got done in scoring, and I walked out, and Tommy was standing there. I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I came to talk to you. And I said, oh, boy, what's that about? I had no idea. And he's like, I want you to come help us out and be our lead analyst at NBC for a couple weeks, try out. And I literally laughed in his face. And then my next question was, how long is the delay?
Yeah. The kill switch?
Yeah.
So how did he sell it to you?
Well, he just said that, that things didn't work out with Azinger at the end of the year. They were kind of in a tough spot because they had a tournament in 4 weeks in Maui, and they didn't know what direction they wanted to go to make a big hire, so they were going to try to use guys through 24 to see which direction they wanted to go. And he said, since you're already going to Hawaii to play the Sony Open, would you just be willing to fly over there a few days earlier on us and try it out? And so I said, I'll never forget. I said, well, Tommy, it's Christmas season. I've got no way. I've never been to media school. I went to business school. I said, I can't fly to New York and do any media training or anything like that before Maui. He said, oh, no, just a 20-minute phone call with me and you'll be good. And I laughed at that again. And sure enough, that's what we did. And there I was putting a headset on Friday going, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing, do you think?
Well, I think it was great on my reaction to things, right? I didn't have any preconceived idea of what I should
Scar tissue.
Right. Now, I will tell you the scar tissue came when he asked me to come in the truck for an hour before I went on air. And I sat in there. I made it about 17 minutes, and I walked out and called my wife and said, if the booth is anything like the truck, there's no way I can do this.
Yeah, that's so hectic. The truck can be a little intimidating. Like people that aren't on the inside of the business don't understand truck life. You see those shots on the Thanksgiving Day games and the Christmas Day games where the crew was waving. for those people that don't understand how to put on a live TV event, sports wise, like those guys, they're hardcore in that truck.
Hardcore, and how many moving parts there are to
Yeah.
produce the shots you want to see, and how to know where to go and try to play as many live shots as possible. And people are screaming, "We got to go away! Got to get a commercial in." I'm just glad I don't hear all of that while I'm in the booth.
Yeah. So how did you? So the shock and awe of the truck, and then you got into the booth, and what was that like right away?
It was like going into a Zen yoga studio. Like I
Yeah.
opened the door and all I could hear was Dan Hicks' sweet voice, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is way cooler. I can do this."
I gotta
And
say, I did not think Zen Yoga Studio would be something I'd be pulling out of Kevin Kisner for making South Carolina to me.
you know, Lane Kiffin
I
and
did
I,
not
that's
see
what we
that
do.
coming. I did not see that coming.
Lane Kiffin and I are in the hot yoga. You know, that's what we do.
Well, Lane Kiffin's in a hot something, and we can get into that for sure a little bit later because everybody knows what a big college football fan you are. So, how have you taken to it? Like, after that first experience, did you think, okay, because I think I was talking to you
Yeah.
out there in Maui because
Yeah,
I was
you were out
there.
there. I ran into you on the course, and I was like,
It,
dude, give me some advice. I need something to go in here. I don't know what I'm doing.
just be honest, right?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is I know most of the guys. I know all the
Yeah,
golf courses, so all that golf stuff comes easy. Now the production side, I still am learning, like when to lay out, when to add a
yeah,
comment, not talking over people. You know, the cadence of the entire thing because we have four guys trying to talk.
yeah.
Understanding that, I still think I'm still trying to figure out. But as far as the production and being up there and feeling comfortable, I'm in a pretty good spot now. One of the hardest ones I did this year was the British Open when we did the tournament finished and we stayed on air for maybe 20 or 30 minutes doing the
Yeah.
trophy presentation without a commercial. And just how many times can you talk about how good Scotty Scheffler is without saying the same thing over and over again? So I basically
Yeah.
just put my head on Dan Hicks's shoulder and said, "You got it, bud. Hang in there."
Like, call me if you need me. I'm right
Yeah,
here.
I help out if I can, but this is your time.
But it is interesting, right? Because when Fox had the U.S. Open, and their first year was at Chambers Bay, and it was when Dustin was in his cannot get across the finish line phase at
Yeah,
majors, and they had Norman in the booth, and it was that Chambers Bay that year finished with it was a par five, I think, on the 18th hole,
yeah. Well, we changed
and
it. Remember, one day we
yeah,
played
yeah.
as a par four, one day we played as a par five.
Yeah, and he three putted on the 18th, and it was Joe and Greg Norman was in the booth, and I remember listening to Joe saying to Greg, "What do you think about what happened?" And I'll never forget this. Greg said, "I'm speechless. I have no words." I'm like, "Bro, this is why they pay you. They need your words now."
This is not a time to be speechless.
I mean, this is literally the moment that they're paying you for.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, if we're being honest, this is a guy in Dustin who hadn't come across the finish line, has choked away a few majors. Greg, you might be familiar with this. I
Yeah.
need you to bring something to the table here.
Yeah, Joe should have started with from your past experience, Greg. How's he feeling right
Exactly.
now?
Exactly. He might have gotten the same answer, but it would have been a great question. Uh,
Exactly.
So how do you translate into, like you said, into those moments when it's it's the thing, right? It's happening.
Yeah.
It's down the stretch. It's the big shot, the big drive, the putt to win it all. How do you like for example JJ at the frickin' U.S. Open this year at Oakmont? How do you
Yeah.
balance what you're doing there?
The good thing about golf, two things that are from a broadcast, is we're the only sport that come on air where the entire story could have already changed before we come on air, right? Some
Correct.
guy could already have gone out and shot 62 and be leading, or the leader could have bogeyed the first few holes before we come on air. And then when you get to those pivotal moments, Dan's so good. He's, without him, I'd be lost for sure. But, I got to play that right the whole time. Like Dan's got to do the big moment, and then I've got to, piggyback off of him as far as I can tell. And that's what I tried to do. One of the great shots I saw on that, main camera that's running the whole time is when JJ's putt was rolling. And I
Yeah.
knew Dan was like waiting to see if it, because we're all thinking he's going to three putt from 80 feet and we're going to have
Correct.
a playoff. I
Yeah.
mean, I told JJ that. And I'd seen that putt so many times, and when it crested the hill with like 10 feet to go, I just stuck my thumb up in Dan's face like, "It's good.
Yeah.
Get ready. You better get ready." And then it jams the hole, and he goes, "How about one?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm done here. I don't have to say anything else for a minute." So I think just knowing, I think Dan's lead into that. I'm never going to jump in front of him and try to take away the moment when it's that big, but
Yeah.
I'm there to support and add the fancy golf stuff to it.
It's interesting what you just said because I think that's the hardest thing that a lot of people, whether they're analysts or hosts like myself or Dan, know when to shut up. I mean, like
Right.
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And some of the best moments for me watching sports are when something incredible happens and nobody says anything for 90 seconds because
Right.
you just see the moment as it unfolds and you hear the people going crazy.
Yeah, talking to Dan after I got the job, they had 3 or 4 guys do it, and he said that, I was like, why did they pick me? And he said, well, you had an uncanny ability to know when to lay out
Yeah.
that others did not. And he said, you never tried to force something that wasn't needed in a big moment, and you never tried to overtalk, and you got to the point quickly, and you got out, and that's all you got to do in TV.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that this would be sort of the way this thing unfolded for you?
Heck no, dude. Every other word I say at a golf course is a cuss word. I never dreamed that TV would be a part of it. And what's funny is guys ask me all the time, like, how many times have you had to catch yourself from saying a cuss word? And
Yeah.
it's weird. As soon as those headset goes on and the music starts and it goes, it's like you go into that interview mode almost, like
Yeah.
my whole career where I was getting interviewed, and it just never really crosses my mind. I just talk like I'm talking to you in an interview after I won or anybody else,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of how I speak. Now, I love to throw jabs at players and other commentators and stuff throughout, but if they ever let me go full hardcore on Peacock or something, that could be really pay-per-view worthy.
Full
Yeah,
kids on Peacock. Well, maybe we'll do that as one of the alternate channels for the U.S. Open and the Open Championship that I've done the last couple of years. Maybe we'll put that as a sidebar.
yeah, it'd
We'll
be like
get
the Manning cast.
exactly right. Okay, so that's the broadcast side of it going forward. But as a player, like your road was not always the smoothest, right? You had to lost that tour card a couple of times. Where do you find the belief when obviously you guys won a national championship at Georgia with a team that was stacked, and then you go on to the professional ranks and realize, holy shit, this is way more difficult. Uh,
Oh yeah.
what was that process like for you?
Well, I've never, I always tell people going back to my childhood, I had great parents that, instilled great work ethic in me, and nothing was easy. So that's what I tried to always lean on as just kind of my upbringing. But, there's many times, missing that second stage of tour school. I remember by one shot getting to finals to finally have some status right out of college and thinking, I don't know how I can do this again without getting a tour card and going
Right.
around playing these mini tours and chasing Monday qualifiers. And then, my progression was always kind of steadily up though. Right out of college, I won a couple times on the mini tours. Then I got onto the nationwide tour, which was back then, and made
Right.
some money and kind of got some status. Then I won a nationwide tour event. And then I got on tour and got my teeth kicked in and went back to the nationwide tour, won again. So I'm like, well, I'm obviously good enough. I just need the experience. And 2014 at the end when I kept my card, played great, and then 15 kind of came out, and I think I got all the way to 12th in the world that year was when I really knew I belonged, and that's when the wives always talk about it. My wife and other wives, they're like, it's never enough when you're a tour player's wife. Like, hey, we just want
Yeah.
to get on tour, and then it's like, well,
Yeah.
all we want to do is win, and then we finally win. It's like, well, now I want to play in the majors. Well,
Right.
now I want to win a major. Well, now I want to be on the Ryder Cup team, and so no matter what you do in golf, you're always trying to get better and be on the next level. And I think that's what continues to drive you.
Yeah, but I think that translates to almost anything if you're competitive, right? Like for me, when I started my TV career, well, I just, I want to get to a decent sized market. Okay, now that I did that, I want to get to, a top 20 market. Then I want to get to ESPN. Then I want to get to what I want to do on ESPN. So while that is absolutely true in golf, I think that's just anybody that's successful always doesn't want to enjoy their success because they want the next level of success, and it's this weird conundrum.
Yeah, and you never really enjoy the success that you're having in the present, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so competitive. And if I look back on my career, I really wish I would have relished how well I did in certain situations longer instead of,
Yeah.
winning a golf tournament and then telling my team how we got to get better the next day and let's start practicing. That's just how we're all wired. If we're super
Yeah.
competitive and we want to be at the highest level, but at some point, you want to look back and be like, I was pretty good. I
Yeah.
did some really great things and accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish in my career. So it's an interesting dynamic, like you said. without that dynamic, you don't get to where you are, right?
Correct.
You wouldn't have been hosting at ESPN and doing all the
Yeah.
things you've done, and I wouldn't have, be on all these cup teams and have the seat that I have now.
Yeah, but it's careful, like, because it can mess with you. Like Ian Baker Finch, who just walked away from the booth after a great run, had the great story. He said when he won the 91 Open at Birkdale, he said, okay, I need to start winning majors now. This is what I need to do. And it totally effed his swing. Like, he admits it. He's the only guy I've ever seen knock it out of bounds off of the first at the old course.
It's impossible too.
He hooked it so far left it hit the freaking road. And so, I mean, it's this balance you have to go through, because otherwise it'll drive you crazy.
I tell my caddy a funny story about St. Andrews every year. When we got to 18, it's drivable par four. It's the same width as the tee shot on one.
Yeah.
And I always told him, I said, man, I hate this tee shot. And he's like, why? And I said, the only thing you can do is screw up. Like, you can hit it anywhere on the planet, but God forbid I hit it out of bounds, one hole. I'll be the laughing stock of this entire, industry for this. I got 400 yards to hit it in. So, anywhere else you can get away with oh, he could have hit it out of bounds there. You can't hit it out of bounds there, but if you did, you'd be the laughing stock of it.
Well, Rick Riley, when he was working for Sports Illustrated, wrote about that Finchy thing, and the first line of the article, I'll never forget it. He said, "Are you sure you want to read this? Because if you play golf, if it happened to Ian Baker Finch, you can sure as hell believe it could happen to you." And that's sort of the mindset. Like I'm a fair golfer. Like, my number's like a 7.5. And I'll go around where I feel like I can't miss, and then suddenly I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat. And that's sort of the nature of the game,
Very much so. I can tell people all the time, I can tell when I have it and when I don't have it when I first grab the club.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to probably hit it really good today, just the way it feels.
Yeah.
You know how it is. And then you get out there some days and you're like, I don't know how I'll ever find it today.
Yeah.
And we just got to manage those expectations throughout the round to get it the best score possible.
And all of us are crazy about the game, right? I've seen you a couple of times wearing those spiked shoes, like on the putting green.
Oh, yeah.
For people that haven't seen it, they're like 6-inch long spiked shoes. What were you doing there? What's the purpose of that?
So they're built for people that don't step up when they walk for arches, so they're off balance. And so if you put them right on the balls of your feet, and you get balanced to where you're not rocking back and forth, then you're the most stable position you could be to putt in, which, as you know, don't move when you putt. It's what everybody tells you. So if I get in the most stable position I could be, and I know I'm in the same setup every day. You know how your body changes. Your back hurts this day. Your leg hurts that day. Don't feel good here. So that was kind of my warm-up every day. Is like, I'm going to start at 0 every day, knowing that I'm in the same place I was yesterday.
But, it's funny. That's sort of like... It looked like something out of Tin Cup, when everybody's trying to find this way to do it. Like, how did you get to the point in your mind where you said, I got to try this?
Well, I started doing it at home and really putted well when nobody was looking, right? And then suddenly I took it to like a smaller event and people were asking me. And then you keep making putts, man. You'll stand on your head, put all your change in your left pocket, do it one-handed like Adam Schenk did a few weeks ago. It doesn't really matter. We're all crazy, like you said. So once I saw the results, I was like, I don't care who sees what I'm doing. But it's funny. Tons of tour players call me all the time still asking me, where do you get those things? I want to try them. But they must all try them at home because I don't see any tour players doing it at events.
The way I look at it, if it works, I do not care. For example, I have a 9-wood in my bag, okay? And people give me shit all the time. Then I hit it, and I'm like, I don't care what the hell you say. I'm not hitting my 5-iron 210 yards and landing it soft. So laugh all you want, but this club's staying in my bag.
Yeah, I'm using whatever clubs I can to whip your ass.
Exactly. Or exactly. I'm using whatever clubs I can to not look like an ass. I have a lower expectation than you when it comes to this. I always say there's two kinds of golfers in the world: those that pay for the privilege and those who are paid for the privilege. And you better know which side of the ledger you're on there.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Are you doing any golf this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'll be doing some stuff with NBC again. I really love that stuff, and it keeps, like, for me, after all the years of all the things that I've done in the studio work, the live events are different. It's a different dynamic when you're there when it's happening, and for you, that's got to be the funnest or the most fun thing about it, because you get to have that sort of feel in the really special events.
Yeah, and I told him from the get go, if they ever asked me to do it from a studio, I don't think I could do it. I just,
Yeah,
you got to be in the atmosphere. I got to go out on the range and see the guys before they play. I
correct.
got to get the energy from the crowd. What's going on? Being right there behind the 18. When we go to commercial, I'll just open the back door and walk out there and see how rowdy it's getting. Like at U.S. Open, we're right there halfway down the fairway, and you can open the back door of the booth and see how big the crowd was in that rain and just terrible weather, and how many people were just invested in watching the final of that U.S. Open. It gives
Yeah,
you the energy to go back, and as you know from producers, that's all they ever say is keep your energy up when you're talking.
yeah.
So that's kind of where I get my energy boost, is from being a part of it.
Yeah, and people don't understand that part of it. Like for me, when I was doing the U.S. Open and the Open Championship at ESPN for all those years, the most fun I had every day was walking the course before the play started, just talking to players, talking to stuff about the lay of the land, what they
Correct.
think about this hole, that hole, and that's the kind of stuff that is the most fun to translate to the broadcast because you like you said, you feed off their energy. There's nothing like being at a live event.
Nothing like it. And I use all that for resources for my comments the whole time.
Yeah,
JJ Spahn told me he doesn't like the 13th tee shot, and they're working to maybe try to hit 3-wood. People want to know that are watching at home. When
yeah.
we get to 13 tee, that's a great nugget to throw to people. And then he hits in the left rough, and you're like, well, yeah, of course, because he hates the tee shot. All those things, I'm
Yeah.
always trying to find those little nuggets to use on air to give to the fans at home.
And that's another part of this that I think is fascinating. Like if you're a professional golfer, you're tour, you got your card. Why people don't understand sometimes how some holes just mentally drive you crazy, and it could be the stupidest thing. Like why doesn't he like that tee shot on 13?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, that's sort of the mental part of the game that I think people don't quite understand. Every time you step up over that ball, you're thinking about something you probably shouldn't be thinking about if it's a hole you don't like. And then you're screwed before you even swing.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of holes that I walked on in my career, and before I even pulled a club out of the bag, I would say I'm probably
Yeah,
never going to hit this fairway. Just don't
yeah,
like the way it looks, don't like the way it feels, can't see what I like to see. And then you walk on some holes and say it doesn't matter what's going on, I'll never miss this fairway.
yeah,
It's crazy, and I also liken that to, have you ever made a putt that you knew you were going to miss before you putted it? You know that little
yeah,
guy in the back of your head's like, I don't
yeah,
feel good. I think I'm
yeah,
too low. It never
yeah.
goes in.
No,
But if you're
no,
standing over a 30-footer and you're like, man, I see it. I think this one's going in. It goes in so many times. And
yeah.
it's a crazy thing that you can't just channel all the time. But if you could, it'd be amazing for your golf game.
Well, if we could do that, we would all have a Tiger Golf League named after us.
Correct. Correct.
Speaking of that, Tiger's trying to make his way back. He talked about it a little bit recently. What are your thoughts on where we might see or when we might see Tiger again?
Well, we're hoping that he'll come back and play the last few TGL matches with us as kind of a warm up, later this spring, early, March or so. Just depends on how his rehab goes. I talked to Tiger a good bit, and he's starting to feel a little better. You see him moving around at Albany this week. I'm actually headed down there to call the golf this weekend. So, spend some time with him, see what's going on. And hopefully he's just pain free. That's the biggest
Yeah.
key. And even if he had to come back and play a few Champions Tours events just to get his feet wet, riding a cart, that would be cool, right? I think it'd be a huge boost for that tour. And then just kind of see how it goes. As you know, we all want to see him play, and we'll all welcome him with open arms. But we want him to be healthy and feeling good when he does it.
And you're sort of in an interesting position because you were in college going through it when Tiger was Tiger, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
I try and explain to people who are newer to the game or didn't see Tiger in his prime, like you don't understand. Like you missed the greatest show on turf, like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like to me, Tiger's 2000 season will go down as the greatest season by any athlete in any sport. So for you growing up with it and then getting on tour and competing against him and then sort of being experiencing the comeback as well, in
right.
2018 when he almost won the British, almost won the PGA, and then finally broke through at the Tour Championship, and then won the Masters. Then next year, what would you say to people who didn't experience peak Tiger the way you experienced peak Tiger?
Well, I remember watching in my college apartment every Sunday afternoon. It was just a common theme that he was going to
Yeah,
win. It was like,
yeah,
well, how many is he going to win by today? Is he going to win by set? And he
yeah,
always hit some great shot. It was
yeah,
never like he just played 68. You know, he hits something out of the rough you were not supposed to hit
Correct.
that goes on the
Yeah.
green, or he makes some bomb right when you need to make it. It's just amazing how many huge moments that he hit critical shots and it always worked out. And I don't know what he had up his sleeve, golden horseshoe or whatever, but boy, he could really buckle down and do it when he had to. And then to come out there and be a part of his life, you know, early in my career, later in his career, it was like a god walking around. You know, everybody,
Yeah.
you could kind of feel a buzz when he came by or something. You know, it was like a different aura to him. And then when we got to be buddies and we're on cup teams together and whatnot, you know, it was like, oh, he's just a regular old dude like the rest of us. He's just really
Yeah.
good at golf, and he
Yeah.
loves that. I love to bust his balls and give him grief, and we hang out and talk trash all the time. And in fact, I was at the Georgia Ole Miss game just a few weeks ago and looked at my phone. My daughter had my phone was on the table and she's like, Dad, Mr. Tiger's texting you. And I look down, he's talking trash about Georgia football to me. And so we have a great relationship with that. And I don't, you know, who knows what his life is like, how
Yeah.
weird it was to be the greatest of all time at such an early age and how people treated you. So we've always had a great relationship, and I look forward to hanging out with him in Florida this winter.
Yeah, I mean, there's that popular meme on Instagram. Men only want one thing, and it's disgusting. Yeah, we want to watch Tiger win another major. I mean, like
Yeah, we all do.
that's
We
what
all
it
do.
is. We'll see if that's ever possible. Maybe if he just gets to 83, as Noda said, that might be a really cool thing for him to do, and just to have that tour win total by himself at the top of the
Yeah, and it'd be
totem
cool
pole.
just to see him in the hunt again, right? He was so
Right.
good in the hunt, like, and being that far removed from being in the hunt, does it just
Yeah.
click back on? That would be something I would love to see, because it's hard. You know, I tell people all the time, the more you win, the more you win, and
Yeah.
so with him being out of it, does that instinctual just I'm going to kill you come back really
Yeah.
easy to him, or it's going to be fun to watch?
Yeah, hopefully. But like you said, first of all, get healthy, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah,
All right, speaking of health, the tour is in a pretty healthy spot right now. And obviously, it's been a pretty dramatic last couple of years with a lot of the top guys leaving to go to Live, or a few of the top guys leaving to go to Live. And that thing sort of has balanced out. I feel like the power balance has shifted back towards the PGA Tour with Scotty Scheffler and what Rory's doing, and things like Tommy Fleetwood finally breaking through. Where are you on the health of the PGA Tour right now?
I think it's a great spot. I think the threat of them taking top players and us losing our product is pretty much gone. I think they'll
Yeah.
always poach a few, but if you want to be playing on the top level of golf in the world, you're going to play on the PGA Tour, and that hasn't changed. And I think guys understand that. Now, if you just want to play for money and other accolades, then maybe you want to play somewhere else. But I think Brian, I've talked to Brian Rollout, the new CEO, a
Yep.
bunch, and I think he's a great guy, and he really has some strategic ideas on how to elevate our game, elevate the game to the fans, and really take this whole organization to the next step. So he's got a lot of great guys working for him and with him, and I feel good about it. The smaller you make it, argue one way or the other, the more elite it is, right? So
Yeah.
we're making the tour smaller, but we're going to have better players. And I was just reading an article this morning that, Billy Horschel said maybe you have to start shooting 66 instead of 69, and that's only good for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's going to step up the level of the game. That's going to engage the fans more. That's going to engage the sponsors more. And I think they got a huge strategic decision on what the schedule starts to shake out. I'm not in love with the designated or whatever they're called events, signature
Yeah.
events. I just don't. You don't really need to be, having two different levels of the tour. Let's just have 25 events. They all matter the same, and all the sponsors matter the same. And let's get the best players playing it together as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I've known Brian a long time, obviously, from his association with the NFL, and he's not afraid of change, and I think
No,
that's the one thing. Golf is very much a game based in tradition and legacy, and that's the way it's always been done. And I think when he said, that line, we will honor the traditions, but we won't be bound by them, I think that shook some people in the industry.
right. Oh, I agree with that totally.
Yeah.
But just because that's all the way you've always done it doesn't mean it's right, right?
Correct.
If you can
Yeah.
improve upon it, then it's a positive, net positive for you. And if you can take traditions and grow and continue to grow the brand and make it better product for everyone, then nobody will ever look back at it as a negative.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about, not only shortening, but maybe even shortening the season. One of the things I just listened to an interview Brian did last week, talking about maybe waiting and holding off to the start of the season until after the Super Bowl. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
Well, I think from a weather standpoint, So why do we go to California in January when it's
Thank you.
fantastic there in March?
Correct.
And Florida is amazing in February, which we could go there. So I think from a weather agronomy standpoint, it could really work out. Obviously, we know we can't compete with the giant of the NFL and even college football playoffs. If they keep expanding that, that's only going to continue to go longer and longer too.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with it. Now, you're going to have to lose some title sponsors when you get less events, and how many people are you going to frustrate that don't want to be strategic partners with you? I'm not smart enough to do that, but that's why Brian's got the job, and I'm gonna trust that he's gonna make the best decisions for the players and our equity stakes in the PGA Tour, and we all want them to succeed because then we all make more money.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been a big proponent of this, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I hate it. I mean, when I tell you I hate it, I fucking hate it, that the last major of the year ends in the middle of July. To me, the PGA needs to be in August, and it needs to be the final major of the year for a couple of reasons. I'll give you my thoughts, and I'd love to get your take on it. Look, there are only 4 majors. Maybe one day the players will be granted a 5th major. I mean, the LPGA has 5. But to me, the Masters is obviously the Masters. The U.S. Open is the toughest test in golf, and the Open Championship is basically the history of the game. And then there's the PGA Championship. I think the PGA gets more credence, and it gets a little more shot in the arm if it's your last chance to grab a major. And that's one of the reasons I like it in August. And I just don't want the golf season ending in July, the majors ending in July. I mean, this past year we had Scotty doing all these Tiger Woods type things and all these comparisons. That's what everybody talks about. It's like, okay, we'll see you in April. Like, no, I want more of this now. I want more of this. So I'm really looking to see if we can get that PGA back into being in the month of August and the final major of the year.
All right, my 2 points. So I love your first point that it really helps blow up the PGA Championship, right? It really gives them a shot in the arm because there's no realms about it. It is probably the least looked at, coveted major, even though we all love it and want to play in it.
Yeah.
The problem with going to August is you just lose so many places to host it with the weather. Basically the entire Southeast is gone because nobody wants to come to watch a golf tournament where it's 120 degrees in Charlotte, August 15th, or Atlanta, or wherever. Like when we played in St. Louis that year, it was so hot, man. People were falling out left and right. So from a weather standpoint, I think you get more venues for the PGA Championship early in the year. Not that it helps, but I think that's some of the strategic part of it. And I also think from the PGA Tour's thinking is they're really trying to boost the FedEx Cup playoffs, right? So if you keep putting these majors right up close to the playoffs, then people think that, like you do, think the golf season's over, kind of quit watching, and then we have this huge 3 events for tons of money that people aren't paying enough attention to. So I think they were trying to pull the majors away from their ultimate ending of the seasons.
Yeah, I get it. Believe me, I get it, and I know there's a lot of money invested in the playoffs and how we fix that. But I see. I mean, I remember when Tiger won, the 2007 PGA at Southern Hills. I mean, it was fucking hot. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doable. The other thing for me though is I feel like when we took in May, you take the PGA to Bethpage Black, or you take it to Oak Hill and Rochester. You literally could have snow.
Then you're freezing.
Then you're freezing. So to me, I'd be like, okay, so many of these things are in the South anyway. August would be a great time to be in freaking Michigan, or somewhere where you can't go before June 15th, and maybe we see some different courses out there.
Or California. California's great in August. I was just saying I think you limit yourself on the venues in August, but it would be a great way to showcase new venues, which I think the PGA branches out more than anyone on venues. And so it would be a good way to showcase that. I think, if they actually go through with all the rumors of 2025 tour events, the schedule is going to be so condensed, and they're going to have to really figure out that major situation anyway because, excuse me, they don't want to play so many big events, so many back-to-back, right? So if you got 25 events, you want to play a major like every 6, not every 3.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting how they pile that all together.
One of the things that's sort of been bandied about, and I'm not sure how serious it was, maybe even taking the PGA and making it international, like taking it and playing it somewhere else. As a guy who wore a 1776 hat once playing the Open Championship, how would you feel about the PGA Championship being held outside the US of A?
Well, I think it needs to stay in the U.S. I just think that that's our organization and it's our Professional Golf Association of the United States, and it should stay here. I know there's PGA of America or PGA members all over the world, but it just doesn't feel right to me. When I've never thought
Yeah.
of it till you asked me, but it just, in my opinion, needs to stay in the U.S.
Yeah. All right. So if Brian's going to make sweeping changes, what would you really like to see change? If there's one thing, all this stuff we're talking about, and all the things that we can do, and we're trying to figure this out as we get through to start the 2027 season, is when these changes will probably be made. What's the one thing you would really like to see happen?
Well, I've talked to him on the phone about it. I think we really have to find the right mix of PGA Tour U, PGA Tour players, and Champions Tour, and make that all congruent and work for everyone, right? If you're taking
Yeah.
away players' jobs over the course of time, do you lower the Champions Tour age? Do you give more players PGA Tour U because they're obviously the future of the tour, and we need to build our superstars from within. So it's a hard mix, and I think that's going to be the number one key to how he does this. Does he lower the age of the Champions Tour? Does he add more younger guys and give them sooner access to the PGA Tour so that we're learning and building this? And then, not only with the younger guys, if they don't make it, which is very difficult to come out there and get your teeth kicked in, and now you're like, well, now I don't have anywhere to play. How do you give them access
Right.
down to the Corn Ferry Tour quickly so that they can gain the reps and the experience to jump right back up and become a superstar? So between all that, do we really need the guys that have played the Champions Tour, that are 65 years old, still out there playing with the level of money that the new generation going to the Champions Tour has made, if that makes sense? So I'll give you an example,
Yeah.
like Charlie Hoffman and Ryan Palmer and Zach Johnson are getting ready to turn 50. Do they really need
Right.
to go play for 300 grand for 15 years? No. Do they want to go
Yeah.
play for 5 years, hang out with their buddies and compete? Absolutely. But if they did that at 45 to 55, then it would kind of be a cool mix. And I told Brian, why wouldn't you have those guys that you would love to watch and all my friends that grew up watching golf? That be the lead in to the 3 o'clock show is the Champions Tour 45-year-old Zach Johnson winning a golf tournament at 258. And then it goes straight into Scotty Scheffler teeing off on one at the Travelers Championship.
I like that idea, actually. Sort of a graduated tier.
Right.
And then the other thing, let's see if you can solve this one. Obviously Liv is still going, and the reports are out there of how much money they've lost, but they have a lot of money to lose. Let's be honest. That this is not a profit industry. That's not what the end goal is here for Liv, if we're honest about it. If players wanted to start to come back to the tour, that left to go to Liv and play and took the money, and now they want to come back because hey, it's the PGA Tour is the highest level of competition. How would you manage that? How would you facilitate those guys coming back?
The interesting part of that is like the guys that are the superstars that you would want back on that tour have just about played so long over there that they're not going to have status on our tour, even if we let them back in, right?
Correct.
Like
Yeah.
the time gap, I thought in my little brain in South Carolina said, if Liv goes away in 2 years, it doesn't sustain, then Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, they're still going to be exempt on our tour. They could probably pay a fine and still be right back to where they were. But now that time's gone so far, like what do you make them do? Do you tell Bryson DeChambeau to go to tour school and try to earn his way back, or I don't know. I'm not smart
Yeah.
enough to figure it out. But if the equity program that the tour has unveiled really takes off, then the guys that have made so much money in that can't complain about the money that those guys took at Live, because now they're owners of the PGA Tour, which these guys are not. So maybe you tell them they can never be equity owners or never gain shares from their performance because of what they did, and they come right back. Just an idea to throw around. I think that would be a way to allow them back.
Yeah. Does is golf better with everybody on one tour?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if, you can't even watch the Live product. I'm not hating on it, but anybody I talk to is like, I don't even know what's going on. I remember I got to East Lake to call the Tour Championship on Friday, got in my hotel room and turned on the TV, and it was on the channel that the Live's on. And
Yeah.
between all the stuff on the TV and they were playing some match play thing, I was like, I've been playing golf my whole life. I have no clue what is going on out here. Literally, no clue.
Yeah.
I watched for 20 minutes and I said, man, I got to turn this off. I have no idea who's playing who and what they're playing for. And, all right, that team's eliminated, but he's still playing. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, but again, I don't think the end game is what you and I would think the end game is. I think
Right.
they want a seat at the table, and
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
now the PGA Tour is like, no, I'm not sure we need you as much.
Right.
I'll give Bryson credit though; he's the only one that sort of managed to play, in my opinion. I'd like to get your thought on this. Play well on Liv and still compete in majors, John Rahm, my God, when he left, he was the number one player in the world, his dominant force, and now, it just feels like he can't finish a major anymore. And
Right.
that I'm not going to sit there and say it doesn't have something to do with where he's playing.
Well, when you're playing against 54 guys instead of 150, and you're playing on golf courses that are not nearly the quality that we play week in and week out on the PGA Tour, and then you show up to a Bethpage Black, it's probably pretty eye-opening. Like, oh, my game's not where I thought it was when I hit wedges on every hole last week, and now I got to hit in this really tight fairway, or I have 6-inch rough, and the greens are hard and fast. Excuse me. I don't think they're doing themselves any justice by helping their games where they're playing. Now, obviously, they're unbelievable players, and they can play anywhere
No doubt,
whenever
no
they're
doubt.
playing. But you watch a guy like Cam Smith; his career's just really fallen off the table, and he's gone over there. And at some point, is it the money that I don't really have to play anymore, or is it that I'm just not? I'm only playing 14 times a year, and I'm playing 54 holes against 54 guys without a cut, so I'm not practicing as much. It wouldn't motivate me to get out there and really grind. I know that.
Yeah, look, what Dustin said it best. I didn't come to Live to play more golf. I came to play less.
Right.
I mean, he put it out there. So, look, we'll see what happens. Obviously, Liv is determined to keep this thing going, and eventually we'll see if there's a brokerage of peace somewhere down the road. But let's finish with this, because this is a thing that I don't think a lot of people understand about tour players. The college football thing is huge on tour. Like, it is massive between you guys, whether you're Georgia guys, Alabama guys. What did you make of the whole Lane Kiffin situation? Like, to me, there's nothing more lawless than the college football head coaching cycle, like in the hiring cycle. There are just no freaking rules, man. And people go out there and poach. Like in the NFL, no, we have tampering rules. You can't do that. Yet these guys it's just like the wild, wild west out there.
I just could not imagine asking a university that's paying me $9 million and I tell them I'm going away, that for them to expect to allow me to coach the team while I'm recruiting for another school.
Yeah.
It's like, what? So he's calling the LSU recruits and probably the Ole Miss recruits to come to LSU while he's practicing on your facility. Doesn't work for me. I did an outing with Dan Hicks on Monday. I said, Dan, that would be like you telling NBC, hey, I'm going to go call the Masters, but I still want to do the U.S. Open and the British Open. So I'm just going to go do that one week for them. What are you talking about? No corporation in the world. Nobody. Yeah, see you later, bud. It just fascinated me that he thought in his head that was going to happen. And that I think what he thought is the players loved him so much that they were going to fight for him. No. But I think that's all turned out to be different than the way he perceived it.
Well, or the way he said it, because he said all the players wanted to do it, and you see all these tweets from players. That's not exactly how it went down. So
we wanted you to hit the road, bud.
Yeah, it's crazy. So good, good for him. Whatever, we'll see what happens. But
for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. I know you got to get ready and head out this weekend. So I appreciate some time. It's been fun watching you sort of grow into the role, and I know it's a lot of travel, especially with the young kids, but it's a good listen. So as long as you want to do it, keep doing it. All right.
All right, let's get together and do something in one of the weeks you come out. I'd love to do it.
Love it, brother. That'd be great. Thanks.
All right, I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Kiz. So once again, thanks to Kevin for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the listen. He's an interesting guy, and we see what happens with him going forward in his broadcasting career as well as his playing career. Again, if you like this, please make sure you tell your friends. Click that like and subscribe button wherever you get your podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube. It really helps our audience grow. We've got a lot of great golf content coming up in the next few months that I think you're going to be really excited about. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Straight Facts Only podcast.